Time for a reality check. There are now only 20 shopping days to Christmas, and the crews break for the holidays. They have more than 30 meters to go. Every meter higher, the more difficult the task becomes.
Right now, with days like today, it's a bit in question, honestly. We're going to keep pushing hard to make that happen, give everyone an early Christmas present, but it's going to be tight, really tight.
Then, almost on cue, Mother Nature intercedes. A wicked winter storm blows in. Temperatures and the spirits of the crew plummet. The wind chill is 26 below zero. The force of the winds is too strong, grounding the cranes. Once again, progress on the main tower is frozen. They have no option but to wait out the storm. Throughout December, work on the tower moves in fits and starts. The storm eases. They rush to the cranes and attempt to secure another piece of track in place. Then the winds pick up, and the vicious circle begins again. It's a frustrating, expensive process.
Anytime we have a hiccup or a slowdown in the field, it's an awful lot of money and time wasted.
As they move their way up to the 120-meter mark, they are in hallowed roller coaster airspace. Only Top Thrill Dragster, at 128 meters, stands between them and the record. Engineering at this altitude is extreme. There is one silver lining. The unfinished structure is standing solid against the full force of the storms. Not too far from the New Jersey coast, Kingda Ka has to be built to withstand hurricane force, over 160 km/h winds. For extra reinforcement, there are catwalks that serve as lateral braces in the arch of the tower. As the workers look down from their perch at 121 meters, the magnitude of the project begins to sink in. In spite of the setbacks, they are now only one rung in the ladder away from topping it off. Now only 2 shopping days until Christmas. There is hope. They schedule the topping off of the tower for the last week of the year. Once that last piece is bolted into place, Kingda Ka will take the title of the tallest roller coaster in the world. But the New Year's celebration isn't to be. Another cold front moves in and the crews are sent home for a bittersweet holiday. The only thing that is clear about Kingda Ka's schedule is that making their April deadline to launch the ride will be an uphill battle. And every centimeter of progress will be hard-earned.
We've been trying to get it topped out for a little while now, and weather has been pushing us back between wind and rain and fog. We've been having a rough go of it.
The topping off will have to wait until the new year. When it finally happens, it'll be the crowning moment in coaster history. If the final arching piece of track is even a centimeter off on either side, the tower will have to be reconfigured. With the eyes of the media and coaster fans watching, will this, the most important piece of the puzzle, be a perfect fit? The hopes of the engineers and the fate of Kingda Ka hang in the balance. Engineers are working overtime, trying to top off the soaring 139-meter record-breaking tower of Kingda Ka.
We're going to have to make the top first.
And capture the title of the tallest roller coaster on Earth. It's now mid-January 2005. A horrible run of winter storms has delayed this critical event by nearly a month. Today, the engineers are determined to make it happen, no matter what the weather. The crowd gathers early in the morning. The media has been invited in force. Cameras and eyes are trained on the top of the structure to witness this historic moment when Kingda Ka is crowned the king of the coasters. Unfortunately, there's a new dilemma. Fog is looming all around the top of the tower. crew can't believe their bad luck. This is a delicate operation, and visibility for the crane operator is essential. Will the engineers have to send everyone home and reschedule yet again? They decide to go for it, hoping the fog will lift just long enough to fit the final piece in place. The crane team concentrate on what they call the pick. When they lift the crowning piece of steel track, it must be at a precise angle and level. It's a long way up. The choreography must be perfect.
So when we set the top piece on, we may have to push those track pieces out just a little bit to allow us to fit in properly. It can go very quickly, or it may take up to upwards of an hour or two, depending on how difficult it is to fit the piece in.
Almost on cue, the fog breaks, and there's a clear view of the top of the 45-story tower. Finally, it's time for liftoff. They make the pick. Everyone watches and waits. The fit must be exact. It is a game of centimeters. After all the weather setbacks and delays, the record-breaking tower is finally complete. It's an historic day for the engineers and entire crew at Six Flags.
They picked it quickly, they set it in, and they were able to make it up very, very quickly. Much faster than I thought. I actually thought it would take a lot longer.
But there's no time to celebrate. It's now only 3 months to the scheduled opening. The crew shift into overdrive to finish off the track and begin testing the coaster. But their luck is fleeting. Their nemesis has returned with a vengeance. Another bitter storm blows in and dumps over half a meter of snow on the job site. Instead of firing up the cranes, workers fire up the snowplows. Another day goes to waste. While the track work on the fastest coaster on Earth is going painfully slow, there is good news at the base of the main tower. Inside this hydraulics building, the parts for the launch system are arriving as scheduled. It's like a late Christmas for the mechanics as they begin piecing together the components to the most powerful hydraulic launch system in roller coaster history. Building the highest coaster in the world is a huge challenge, but the real catch is breaking the speed record.
That's enough.
0 to 206 in 3.5 seconds is no joke. Unleashing this awesome power is a hydraulic launch system more massive than anything of its kind in the coaster world. 12,500 horsepower in a single blast, and more than 12 times the horsepower of a Formula One race car. The launch system is basically a high-tech catapult, and when it's all put together, it works like this. At the starting gate, the train of roller coaster cars are loaded and locked onto this red shuttle, called the catch car, which is pulled along the track on a cable. The hydraulics are what powers the cable. When the operator pushes the launch button, there is no turning back. The hydraulics spring into action. 18,927 litres of hydraulic fluid is forced through a series of motors. The motors spin a giant drum. That rapidly winds the cable, pulling the coaster down the track and up to the top of the tower. The engineers like to think of the hydraulic system that powers the launch like a big squirt gun.
I like to think of it sort of like the world's biggest super soaker system. A super soaker works when you pump the handle and you put high pressure air into that little tank and you pull the trigger and the air blasts the water out.
With a price tag of about $5 million, that's one expensive super soaker. After a few weeks of tinkering, the launch system resembles a giant spider. Massive hoses sprawl out of the drum and motors and connect to the hydraulic fluid reservoirs. It's slow going, but if they don't get every connection right the first time, they'll have to take it apart and start again. They are still waiting for delivery of the most important component of the hydraulic system, the massive accumulator tanks that are the heart of the ride, pumping the hydraulic fluid through the motor that supercharges the coaster to record-breaking acceleration.
Accumulators are like the heart of the rides. It's kind of like the way a heart pushes the blood around through the body. The accumulator pushes the hydraulic fluid through the motor so you can get the launch up to speed. Got it?
That's good.
The mechanics are getting nervous. They should have come 2 days ago, but the trucks are running behind schedule because of the heavy snowstorm. But on the third day, their luck turns. The trucks carrying the accumulator tanks have arrived. The hydraulics are about to get a serious power boost. But first, they have to get them inside. Each of the 4 accumulator tanks weigh 18,143 kilograms. They'll have to be hoisted out of the trucks by crane. One false move, one break in a connection could send the accumulator to a premature death. It would be a fatal blow to Kingda Ka. The accumulators take a year to make. There are no spares. It takes all day, but at last the accumulator tanks are in place. And the countdown to the most powerful roller coaster launch in history has begun.
I've never dealt with a hydraulic system like this.
But deal with it they will. In trying to eke out every last drop of acceleration, they must ensure that every last component of the launch system, the track, and the cars can handle the stress. Every part has a breaking point, a fact of engineering that might come back to haunt them when they least expect. Frozen. They have no option but to wait out the storm. Throughout December, work on the tower moves in fits and starts. The storm eases. They rush to the cranes and attempt to secure another piece of track in place. Then the winds pick up, and the vicious circle begins again. It's a frustrating, expensive process.
Anytime we have a hiccup or a slowdown in the field, it's a lot
of the storms. Not too far from the New Jersey coast, Kingda Ka has to be built to withstand hurricane force, over 160 km/h winds. For extra reinforcement, there are catwalks that serve as lateral braces in the arch of the tower. As the workers look down from their perch at 121 meters, the magnitude of the... Then, almost on cue, Mother Nature intercedes. A wicked winter storm blows in. Temperatures and the spirits of the crew plummet. The wind chill is 26 below zero. The force of the winds is too strong, grounding the cranes. Once again, progress on the main tower is
a lot of money and time wasted.
As they move their way up to the 120-meter mark, they are in hallowed roller coaster airspace. Only Top Thrill Dragster, at 128 meters, stands between them and the record. Engineering at this altitude is extreme. There is one silver lining. The unfinished structure is standing solid against the full force. Time for a reality check. There are now only 20 shopping days to Christmas, and the crews break for the holidays. They have more than 30 meters to go. Every meter higher, the more difficult the task becomes.
Right now, with days like today, it's a bit in question, honestly. We're going to keep pushing hard to make that happen, give everyone an early Christmas present, but it's going to be tight, really tight.